Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Well, ahoy hoy, and welcome to episode 116 of There's Still Time, the AFTN podcast. I'm Michael McCall,
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Meisenheimer.
And I'm Jay Duke.
and we're bringing you a special roundtable, the first of two in a row, so we're spoiling you this week with the Whitecaps being on a break, and we're recording it live from Match Eatery Public House in New West. If you want to eat, if you want to go to the casino afterwards, Match Eatery is the place for you.
We're here for the roundtable, as Michael said. Basically, let's just jump right into it. Why not? Why waste time? The season so far, is this team for real? That's the big question right off the bat. Everybody, they're at the top of the MLS, Western Conference, but a lot of people are, worried about what they're seeing on the field. What do you guys think about how they are?
That's a question that when you ask, you have to wonder what's your reference point. Because for me, do I think the Whitecaps are real? Yeah, I think that they've deserved what the amount of points that they have right now. Do I think that they're going to be battling for the Supporters' Shield at the end of the year? I don't think so. I still think this is about a number. If everything keeps going, they've been playing better than I thought at the beginning of the year. I still think they could end up maybe second, probably third, but also maybe fourth in the West. But at the end of the season, so does that mean I think that they're real? Yeah, I think they deserve where they are supposed to be. But are they? I don't think that they're going to be battling out for Supporters' Shield at the end of the year.
I agree with Jay in terms of, what is the reference point? As you look at where we were at last year, this number of games, apparently I think we're like 1 point ahead of that. So are we for real? I would say in some sense, I'd say we're at least full value for the points we have, and probably should have. I personally think we probably should have more. But are we for real? And in part, I'd say no, I hope not, because, and I think our technical staff would say the same thing, we have not achieved our potential. And so I think that there's hopefully more to come.
I'd say they definitely are for real, because I have touched them. They do exist. For me, there's two aspects to this. Yep, as Zach said, they haven't played to what we would think is their full potential. When you look at that front four, and we'll cover the individual players later on, but when you look at the front four that's played against RSL, that's the team, or the front four, that I think is going to be Robbo's first choice going forward. Manny's maybe given him a little bit to think about now with his performance. So yes, you look at that, they're exciting, they have potential. But at the same time, I do feel that they've actually overachieved at the start of the season, because they got those wins that they were really, really lucky to get. And for me, that's the difference between last year when they got all those draws and this year where they've had a bit of luck, they've fought to the very end. And it's not just luck, I mean, they've worked hard. They've got a game style on the road that's kind of made for MLS on the road. It's really hard to break down. But I do think that it kind of flattered how well they were playing by getting those early results and by getting those points in the bag and putting them to the top. I still don't really know what kind of Whitecaps team we have, because you saw the Montreal game, they were pretty poor, despite Robbo saying it was a great performance. Then you saw the LA game, which was a great performance against one of the top teams in MLS. Does anyone really know what this Whitecaps team is yet?
Yeah, that's the big question. And the thing is, you have to look at, I think the main thing that people are disappointed about is the home results, because the home results have not been there for them. And also the record against the East this year has been disappointing, considering how well they did against them last year. So I think those are the two big things that that is haunting them right now so far in this first half of the season. Because if you think they get one or two of those home results, they'd be well ahead of Seattle at this point.
I've been really impressed with the Whitecaps defending throughout the season so far, and they're back 6. I guess back 7, including the keeper, as good as any in the league right now, and that's including Pamuruka in your back 4. Now, the top end is what we thought going into the year was going to be a real strength, with Morales coming back and Rosales, a full year, and bringing in Octavio Rivero, especially how the early returns were. That's obviously a place where they need to be able to improve. But the thing that I like about it is, if you look across the league, the Whitecaps still lead the league in shots, total shots. They lead the league in shots on goal. And we don't have access to all the Opta stats behind, but I would be shocked if they weren't top 5 in the league for like big chances created and some of those more slightly analytic statistics. Because how many times have we seen Rivero or other players have just a golden opportunity and miss, or the headers off corners, or that we should be getting the odd one here or there. Haven't had any yet from Carl Waston or Rivero. Penalty kicks, we haven't had any this year. So those are all places where I expect over the course of the year for us to get a few more of those lucky bounces go our way, which would be a huge difference. Just 1 or 2 goals over this last stretch, and the Whitecaps would be top of the league.
I think Michael asked a very fair and important question of what is this team, or like what are the expectations of this team, or what is the style of this team? I think these are questions that people are asking in social media and supporter circles. I think we're not a team that either is our style is super identifiable, or other than maybe on the road playing counterattack, or too often than some people's liking paying balls over the top for our players with pace. And I think partly because people don't like those things, or those things aren't sexy, if you will. They aren't, as Ruud Gullit would say, they're not sexy football. That people aren't enamored by them, and so they want to think that there should be more. And in one sense, maybe there should be more. And I think, but I think what Jay is saying is true. And this is why I say I don't think we've reached our full potential, because we have created tons of chances, both home and away. We've created more than enough chances to get results in our matches, in our 16 league matches this year. And I think the impressive thing has been some of the amount of chances that we've created on the road. And it's been nice to get more results on the road, even though they've been 1-0 or nicked at the end or whatever.
So definitely, yeah, you're right. Those 1-0 wins are important, scraping those things. But Michael, you were talking about the tactics and the formations and how rigid a Bravo is. We've been talking about that before too. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been disappointed. I think 4-2-3-1 has a place. It works well on the road. At home, I just don't think it's the thing that should work. I like to have 2 strikers up front. I'd like to see Rivero getting some support so he's not left completely isolated, whether it's Earnshaw, Manny, Matix, anyone really at the moment. And for me, at home, they should be looking at maybe 4-1-3-2, 4-4-2, maybe even 3-5-2, which I know Robbo is something he would maybe like to do if he's got a bit more time to try things out, but he doesn't have that just now. He does seem quite happy. We asked him on the conference call if he would ever kind of go with a 3-man defensive shield that they kind of had at RSL, and he doesn't think that suits their style. He thinks their style is to kind of have that strong defensive core in front of the back 4 and use the fast guys up the wing.
I think tactics, when you talk about the technical, when you talk to the technical staff, they'll tell you that the way we play 4-2-3-1, we actually attack with more numbers than if we played 4-4-2 in the way they would set it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the conversations that I've had with them about how things are set up and formations and whatnot.
There's also been an argument, Jay, that Robbo's too slow at changing tactics in the middle of a game. He does change them when they have to, and sometimes it's like 75th minute mark. There's another argument, you don't change the tactics if you don't really need to, but when they are trailing games like Seattle, it was really frustrating because he didn't seem to change the tactics quick enough.
Yeah, because he had an option to go 3-5-2 at that point, where you put, or would have a 3-man back and just put another attacker.
It doesn't even have to be that complicated. There should be the Whitecaps just need to be. Robinson needs to be a little bit more flexible in his approach, and I do think that to some degree the formation is just numbers. It doesn't really matter. It's who you put out on the field and what your instructions are them to do. Because Kekuta Mane will not play as a left winger. He's more of a left-sided central attacker. Yeah. So
but he likes to play as a striker.
Yeah.
And it shows, and I think that's where he's better suited. So I'm okay with that. But at the same time, there are games like you said. Seattle at home, you're down in the 4th minute. You need to make that switch even quicker, and whether it's at half or even if you have the players on the field who can do this. But it's as easy as just inverting that diamond. I've been on this for a while. Instead of having 2 holding midfielders, you go to a single midfielder. He's shown in Toronto he's able to do that. And then you can have 2 attacking midfielders, and that way Morales can drop a little deeper. There'll be space from, yet we'll still have a number 10 who can link up with Rivero, so he's not so much on an island.
If you haven't, you should go out and read Jay's book, Inverting the Pyramid.
Overall, like looking back on the season so far, what do you guys think have been the strength, the one strength, and the weakness of this team? Like, if you can maybe one of you guys take one of them.
I think our strengths have definitely been the defensive spine of the team, and quite frankly, our entire back four. Especially, we have probably one of the best, if not the best, goalkeeper in the league right now in Ousted. You have 2 very good center backs with Rodriguez, who I think is going to be a quality MLS player who will be able to step in there. You have Laba and one of either Kofi or Tybert. Tybert's looked great this year. Kofi's had some hiccups, but it's really coming on now. That's where the strength of our team is, and I don't think that'll change throughout the year. That's why the Whitecaps have done so good on the road, and it's why they'll probably be good even on into playoffs.
I think, so you talk about what is the strength, I would say that one of our strengths this year has been creating chances, and yet it's mirrored by one of our weaknesses, which has been finishing those chances.
Yeah.
So, goals, the number of goals were similar to last year or behind last year, I think it is. And a lot of the talk from Robbo was, hey, how can we get 25 more goals in the team? That hasn't happened. And so I think that's been, unfortunately, been our weakness. And yet we also, because of the strength that Jay talked about, we've been able to still get comparable results to last year.
I do think that's something that'll sort itself out. I really do. And I'm not the big super pro PDO stats guy. I like those things. I think those are a very important tool when you're analyzing stuff.
We can base everything on that.
No, you can't base everything on it. But the amount of shots, the Whitecaps lead the league in shots. They lead the league in shots on goal.
And I'm sure Rivero leads the league in shots.
He's probably top 3 or something like that. Mane is up there as far as shots. The Whitecaps are doing all the things that they need to do to be successful on the offensive end. Just a little bit of luck and some poor finishing. It has to be said, but there'll be some golazos that happen as well as some easy rebounded goals, and I think that those numbers will start to come around.
For me, the biggest strength is that defensive spine, and the weakness, as you've said, it's like that inability to not convert the chances. It hasn't cost them too badly, considering where we still are in the table. But then if you look at where we could be in the table, I know it's always like F spots and all that, but if you just look at where a couple more points would have us, we should be walking away with the confidence and the MLS title. The way that we've played, the chances we've created, a couple more go in, one every couple of games, and it's like our lead would be like so big just now.
And not only that, but not just the fact that they haven't converted, it's the times that they haven't converted too. There's been so many games, and it's lucky we have that defensive spine, because there's been so many games where we've milked out a 1-0 game when we should have been up 2 or 3 or 4-0 early on.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, there's a couple things I would say the weaknesses so far, and one is surprising, one not too surprising. I think the non-surprising one is the wide play. I just still don't think they have enough width out there, and sending balls in from the wide areas into the box where Rivero, because Rivero can score with his head. He's shown that in highlights from before other places.
Yeah.
The surprising place, I'm very surprised, is set pieces. I thought from like corners and stuff like that. I thought with guys like Kaw and Waston in the box and everything, I thought they would have scored more. Neither one of them has scored a goal yet this year, and I thought they would have contributed one each or something like that so far this year. And they've had chances, but they haven't converted at all.
Especially when you look at pre-season, Kaw scored 2 goals with his head, and you kind of expected that, and it's just
peaked
not
too
coming.
early.
Talking of the defence, at the left back position, we won't talk anymore about Stephen Beitashour. I think we've kind of covered how badly I feel he's been playing, and if anyone disagrees, I don't want to hear that.
It's difficult.
So
He's had his moments this year.
Yeah, but I want more for that money.
It's been a problem.
Left back position, Harvey started the season. Sam Adekugbe came in.
After Gary Kingston derailed Darby.
Harvey was just demoralised after that. Sam did well, got an injury. It's allowed Jordan to come back in, and for me, Harvey has been phenomenal these last few games. Yeah. So my question, just for all of you, multi-part question: were you surprised that Sam got his chance as early as he did? And do you think, with the way that Harvey is playing just now, that when Sam is healthy, that he's going to get right back in the team again?
I'll put on my Harvey Army shirt here and say, yeah, I think Jordan's been a great professional this year, in both when he was starting and then also when he lost his spot. I think you didn't see any negative signs, you didn't see any pouting, you didn't see whatever. He was professional. Very professional. He just put his head down, worked hard in training, and then when Sam got injured, he took the opportunity. I mean, obviously his opportunity came. He got back in the team, and I think he's performed quite well. Yeah, he's provided some attack. He's provided to the attack.
Yeah.
He won the penalty away to Montreal, and he's also been a part of that solid defensive core that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I kind of wish they could have. There's a way to get both of them on the field when Sam is healthy. It'd be ideal, but I don't know if they can do that.
No, but I think we can at some point. I think
for like on the same side you're talking about, right?
Yeah, on the same side. So I think, like we saw, a couple years ago, on occasion we'd have Alain Rochat and Harvey both on the left side, and I think that is maybe not something highly likely to be used, but I could see a specific situation, maybe in some cup matches where we could see maybe Jordan behind and Sam in front.
Because the Sam's played in the preseason up front. I remember that one time in Portland he played like that, and he can provide the service into the box because he doesn't deliver mean cross.
Sam is probably, and this is not meant to be a slight on any of the attackers, but Sam is probably our best left winger on the club.
Yeah.
We don't have any players who are heels on the chalk line, beat a guy to the end line and whip in a quick cross. Nobody does that.
Pass it and move.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Does not pass it and admire the pass.
Whereas Sam does do that, and that is one of the huge positives for him, and it is why he got in the club in the first team so early in the year. I just can't see with how well, because Jordan was playing okay. He was playing pretty well. After the injury to Sam, and when Jordan came in, he's been playing lights out. He's been good defensively. He's been maintaining possession. He's been going forward, and he's been popping up in the box. And I can't see how you can take him out of the first team right now, even though I do think that Sam Adekugbe has a higher ceiling and will be the long-term starter of the club. I don't think that you can take Harvey out with how he's playing right now.
I agree. There's evidence that he has been popping up in the box, and I think that he has contributed to our attack.
I've really liked how he's been playing, and I think it's going to be tough for Sam to break back in again this year. But with all the games coming up in August, he's definitely going to get his chances.
Yeah, there's definitely the opportunity, CCL and all that stuff.
But talking of Jordan Harvey, let's hear from the man himself now. I had a chance to catch up with him at training a few days ago, just asking him about how he lost his place in the team, fighting back to regain it, and some interesting thoughts on him about how he feels he came into pre-season training. So here's Jordan Harvey. So Jordan, looking at the games and the season so far, for both the Caps and also for yourself, how do you see it having gone?
I think we've learned a lot. I think we've been in every single type of situation that you could be in throughout a season, and we've kind of condensed that into a half of a season. I think we've learned a lot from that. I think we've developed a lot from that. I think over the last month, I think you've seen that. There has been courses through games, like I've talked about, where we've been in situations that we haven't come out on top. But I think, and I hope that this last game was that turning point. We've been in games where we've been down, where we've been up, and this game where they came back into the game, and in the past or in the beginning of the season, we might have crumbled or just settled for a draw or kind of like lost the energy, but we kept the energy through 90 minutes, and we were lucky enough to come away with the win. I don't think it's luck. I think it's persistence, and I think it's the energy that we brought that second half.
Last couple of games, your own performance, it's been top notch. It's like you seem to have really raised your game up a level. Is it the fact that, like, with Sam coming in and pressurising you, you've kind of just taken your game to the next level?
I wasn't happy with how I came in. I came in fit to preseason, but I didn't feel like I was as sharp as I could be. I feel like I've actually gotten better the last 3 years. I think my best years have been the last 3 years. And so that was frustrating coming into the beginning of the season and how that kind of started. But I didn't stop. I tried to keep coming to training every day and trying to get better, working as hard as I could in the weight room, in the training room. I do feel like I'm playing really well right now, and I hope I can just continue this throughout the rest of the season.
Now, you knew you were going to have a battle with Sam at some stage for the left-back role. Did it surprise you, though, that it kind of came so quickly in the season?
Sam came in playing really well. It didn't surprise me. I knew he was playing really well, and he's a great player. And I wasn't, like I said, as sharp as I would have liked to have been at the beginning of the season, if I'm honest with myself. When I first came into preseason, it was my position. It was my position to lose, and I wasn't sharp enough.
Now, with the games that's coming up, 5 games on the road over 6 weeks, are you looking to play every single one of that, or do you feel that at some stage yourself and some of the older guys, to put it nicely, you might need a little bit of a rest out there?
I haven't discussed, that's a question for Robbo, I think, but I haven't discussed how we're going to approach these next games. But after the LA game, we do have a break. So with that in mind, I think I can play both games, and I did it a few weeks ago, and I feel fine. Yeah.
In the past, the road form's been a bit of an issue for the Caps. Obviously this year the road form's fantastic. So is such a trip maybe not as daunting as it has been in previous years?
Absolutely. I think because of that confidence, because of our success on the road, that it's absolutely not that daunting. I think people are looking forward to it, actually. The challenge. It's going to be difficult, don't get me wrong, but the challenge is presented for us, and we've been... once the schedule came out, we knew this was going to be difficult, but the way the season has gone, I think people are looking forward to this.
And Champions League draw tonight. Obviously, we don't know whether it's going to be an MLS team or a Mexican team. If it was one of the MLS teams that you got, would that be kind of a bit of an anti-climax because you play these guys so often?
I think maybe, but just being in Champions League is exciting for everyone. Depending on what team it would be, it'd be less travel, so that would be good. There's benefits, but it's obviously exciting if we were to go into Mexico and play in a hostile environment and kind of live that Champions League feeling.
Chance to play in the Champions League, what does it mean to you personally? What would that mean to you, like going and maybe playing on a big stage like the Azteca or something like that?
I'm excited. Just honestly, you just mentioning that, I got the chills a little bit. I'm really excited about it. I do hope we get the chance to go into an environment like that. Because I've watched Mexican League's game. Growing up in Southern California, the Mexican League was on all the time. It wasn't always the English Premier League like it is now. So I watched Cruz Azul, America, Chivas, all those teams. So it'd be really fun. It'd be really fun and a highlight of my career for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks so much, John.
Yeah,
Cheers.
No worries.
So that was Jordan Harvey speaking to Michael about his season so far, essentially. I'm going to bring it out to you guys. Obviously, this is the first year at WFC2. How effective has it been for us? A guy like Jordan Harvey, if Sam was playing, might have been playing on that WFC2 team just to get some minutes. Obviously, when Sam comes back, he's going to get minutes there as an injured player. But how overall effective has it been? And Jay, you've been to a few games. Michael, we've been to most of the games. Zach has too. What are your guys' overall feelings about how it's worked out for the Whitecaps?
It's actually hasn't been as effective as I thought it would be. Perhaps maybe this is naive of me, but I expected. I'm unlucky for a guy like Bustos to be injured, and because he was going to be a key part of that WFC2 side. I expected to see more of Keon's froze there, more of Adekugbe until he got the call up. Even Carducci, I expected more from him. I expected more from those guys. And when the first team, the true first teamers, were sent down, like the Hurtado, the Mesquita, those guys are sent down, I expected more from them at that level. So it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag for me. What I do think is that it really has helped the club perception. Just being there a couple games, you see some of the players and the players' wives and some of the other residency kids all there going and watching the games as fans as well. And I think that's good to have that integration both on and off the pitch, because on the pitch they're playing the same style. They're playing that 4-2-3-1. So I do think that it's good. I think it'll take a little bit more time before we really see those dividends, though.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm kind of surprised that you see so many guys like you're talking about Marco Carducci. You see so much of Spencer Ritchie. I know he's a decent player, but you think they'd be pushing Marco Carducci more. But I guess they're going to go with the best player available.
And that's the thing, I think, is that in seeing Carducci, he actually hasn't really been that great, and that kind of hurts to say because I really like him and I think he's got a great potential. But Spencer Ritchie has looked the better of the two of them. Yeah. So it's hard not to play the guy who's earning the starts.
Well, Marco had a good couple games the last few of them.
I've liked what I've seen from Ritchie, and it shouldn't just be the case that Marco automatically gets the start because he's Canadian. But do you have to think Marco has got that MLS contract?
Yeah.
So at some point, the bigwigs in the club start to say, look, this guy has an MLS contract, we need to see him play.
I remember he started the season hurt too, so he wasn't 100%, so he was missing a lot of time there.
I mean, the integration between the two, it hasn't been used too fully, because there's been times where Robinson's squad has been a little bit threadbare, so he's pretty much needed everyone available for the game day 18, and it hasn't always been double headers. It's Whitecaps have been away on the road whilst WFC2 has been at home and vice versa. Now, one of the MLS players who has kind of taken a chance, at times anyway, to show what he's got for WFC2 is Caleb Clark. Now, Zach, what have you made of Caleb's play this season? And do you think, with the fact that the Whitecaps are struggling to put the ball in the back of the net, that he deserves to get at least a look on the bench at some time soon?
I couldn't concur more, Michael. I think with Darren gone with Jamaica for at least one tournament, if not two.
I think he's been away for 2 weeks now.
I think with him gone, I think with other things or other players' forms who can play in that central striker role, I think that Caleb deserves to be on the bench and hopefully to get some opportunity, maybe starting with a few minutes at the end of a match to help finish it off, or as a player coming on to maybe give us some spark to end the match. Because as we all know, sitting at this table, watching U16, watching U18, watching PDL, now watching USL Pro, watching USL, Caleb Clark, watching Augsburg too. Caleb Clark can score goals. He has a nose for the net. He knows how to finish. And finishing is probably the number one thing that we could I think we might agree that we need to improve on in the first team.
Yeah, and in accordance to that too, not only does he score goals, and I'm not saying he's as good as Octavio, but he plays a similar game to Octavio, where he holds up the ball, he lets the other attackers come into the game and distributes it as well.
And like Octavio, he scores left foot, right foot, head, whatever.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think he deserves a shot because he has scored goals. But I don't know. In the time that I've seen him play, he'll come on to games for 20, 25 minutes, look great, pop a goal in, and then it'll look like he just drifts around for another half the game. And I don't know if that's
the life of a striker.
I suppose
seems like
I suppose it is. And maybe that is. Maybe it's just score effect, and maybe I'm just not paying enough attention. But sometimes it seems like he kind of drifts out of games a little bit with the interest level. Like he just is. You always see Octavio Rivero, and I know it's not fair to compare the two because they're in completely different leagues. But you always see Octavio Rivero doing something, going somewhere, working hard, pressuring the defender, running through a channel, coming back to. There was a lot of times where you see Caleb not doing those things, just kind of standing, waiting for the game to come to him. And I think that's what he needs to change if he wants to be an MLS player.
Which is one of the, Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the unfortunate things of Caleb, from what I understand, what I've seen a little bit, is Caleb's practicing more with WFC2 and not with the first team as much, with Octavio Rivera there to mentor him to be an example.
Yeah, that is true, Zach. Caleb did kind of struggle a little bit to kind of find his feet, but he seems to be in full flow, at least now. He hasn't done so well within the team, hasn't the last couple of weeks either. So just quickly, what are your general thoughts on WFC2? Has it ticked all the boxes you were hoping for? Have you been happy with the crowds, or what more are you expecting from it?
Well, I mean, that all comes down to what are the actual expectations of WFC2, right, Michael? Like, are we talking just in terms of helping develop players, helping players get minutes from the first team who aren't getting minutes or returning from injury? Are we talking about like off the field, like drawing more people into the support of our club? There's financially, there's lots of different elements to it.
I find it quite annoying that there's some really loud supporters with drums there that when we're trying to record our podcast, it just really messes our levels up. And I don't. If you could have a word with them, that'd be really good.
Yeah, I'll talk to my kids about that. I say that because my kids have been banging on the drum again. No, I mean, it's been lackluster in terms of I think the overall. I think in terms of the most important element of it, in terms of it being a place for players to get games and get minutes at a higher level, I think that is doing okay. And you don't know the long-term effects of that,
you can't see that right now, whether it's results or how they're playing, because they're learning right now.
Exactly.
And it was perfect for Rodriguez. It gave him two games to have a run out at.
So that's where it's been good. In terms of support or number of people coming to matches, no, it's a huge disappointment. It's a huge letdown. But there are elements to that.
It's what I expected.
I personally think that's what I expected. I did not it's especially the games after, where there's a game on Saturday night to Sunday. It's hard for people to go to two games. Like most of us will do it because we enjoy it, but a lot of other people can't.
It's a chore, actually, though.
For you too, especially.
I'm sorry. It was never going to draw well at UBC. It's
That's
way out there.
That's a problem.
And then you're expecting people to pay tickets, and you're on a university, so the university kids aren't going to go because it costs money and they're trying to save money.
And parking.
And then the parking.
The UBC kids are posh people.
The parking is probably the silliest thing, because I bought the yearly parking, the full season parking. It's like 7 blocks away. You got to park in the main. There's parking right beside the stadium. It doesn't make any sense.
They're just trying to get you fit.
Well, they're not doing a good enough job. But
they're telling Zach to park it.
But it's small potatoes, and that's what they're getting. If they run it like that, that's the types of numbers they're going to get. I don't have a problem with it either. If their plan is, if their sole focus is development and getting game times for regulars and developing their younger players, then it's fine. You can play it on Mars for all I care, and it's closer to where some of the training takes place and that sort of thing. So I have no problem with it. But if what you wanted is like a satellite club to to help the marketing and push the brand and get lots of butts in seats, UBC was never going to be where it would be. It should have been Langley. It should have been New West. It should have been out towards the valley. They would have had a way better shot at getting people.
Which I feel really bad, because the people within those entrusted to be stewards of our club, those who are looking after it, not at the highest level, but like the director level or whatever, they're awesome quality people, and this has been really difficult for them to, in business language, sell. To season ticket holders, to buyers, because it's at UBC, and I think that's really unfortunate. But I think that even if you put those things aside, say it's difficult to get to, right? Doesn't matter where you live, it's difficult to get to. If we can, I think there's an opportunity for it to grow the club. I'm not so big on maybe being eaten alive by people's dogs, but I think there is an opportunity for it to really grow things. And hopefully in a year or two or whatever, it'll be in a better location to help with that.
And I agree, and it can still grow the club at UBC. It just won't do it with
Same
butts
rate.
and seats and with the marketing that they want.
They're actually getting more than I thought would turn out. I just didn't think folk would actually want to.
Are you talking about like actual people there or the?
No, they announced attendance.
Well, that's not the
All
number
the
of people there.
attendances have been in 4 figures. I thought they would struggle to get to 4 figures.
No,
I
but
just
they-
didn't think the interest would be there.
No, but the announced attendance is season tickets plus tickets sold or given away for that match.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't even think that many people would show up.
No,
to
but-
UBC.
But that's how it works all over the world.
No, I
everywhere,
know.
every day.
I know. Just, there's like maybe a half of that in
Oh,
actual
yeah.
attendance.
Now, Jay, you mentioned Mars there, so I think it's time now to play
Oh, not again.
30 Seconds to Mars.
Mars would be on a great away day.
I need a Mars bar, hey Riggs bar, to help me through the day. I need a Mars bar, a potato bar. It helps me, makes me workers to play. It helps me, makes me workers to play.
So it's time for our semi-regular game show, 30 Seconds to Mars. Now, for first-time listeners, first of all, where have you been? But basically, we're going to go head-to-head. It's Zach versus Jay. They'll have 30 seconds, 3 questions each, to make as many decent points as they can. If they make a good point, you'll hear a ding. If they don't make any good points, they'll just be silent. So let's toss a coin. We'll see who goes first. Zach, heads or tails?
Heads.
Tails.
Good.
So Jay, you get the choice. Do you want to go first or second?
I will go second, please.
Okay, so
I have no answer.
Zach, you're on the clock to start with, and Steve has your first question.
So, first question. Which newcomer on the Whitecaps has had the biggest impact on or off the field, on and off the field? And your time starts now.
Okay, I'm going to break this into 2 parts. I think off the field is obviously Pamudaka. Pamudaka, it feels like he's kind of always been here. And he's brought new traditions to the team, like the birthday Ice Bandit thing. He has been a father figure to Kudamane, which is great. And he has, he has also contributed on the pitch as well, including the assist for the first goal of the season. No ping. Oh, I'm done.
Oh, you never even got to the second part there. That is your time up. 4 points. The klaxon is going off, and it's not stopping apparently. So Jay, can you beat 4 points? Who do you feel is the newcomer with the biggest impact on and off the field?
I thought I was going to be contrarian by saying Pamudaka, but it is for me, and I'm surprised by saying that because I thought he was going to be terrible. But that's the reason why he has been the biggest impact, is because you knew that Diego Rodriguez, there was going to be some feeling out period, but then he got injured. And then we needed a player to step in, and Pamudaka has done exceptionally well, to the point where you might even say that he may be the starter on the pitch in front of Diego Rodriguez. Now, we know that won't be the case long term, but it certainly is now. Pamudaka has put a few good records together. The Whitecaps are one of the... Is that my 30 seconds?
Just finish it over here.
The Whitecaps are one of the best defensive teams in the league, and it's because of him.
5 points for Jay there. kind of giving him points based on the fact that Pamadou wasn't as bad as we all thought he was going to be.
I honestly thought one of these guys would go for Octavio. I did not realize.
I know.
It says minus Octavio on the thing.
Example Octavio.
No, it says minus Octavio.
Minus
Rivera.
Oh, I might have sabotaged that for Zach, I guess. Oops. Sorry, Zach.
So for everyone listening, we were not allowed to talk about Octavio Rivera.
I made a mistake. Sorry about that.
I knew what you meant. I caught it.
Yeah, there you go.
I knew what you meant.
So Jay, you're going to go first with the second question.
Sure.
Which newcomer or young player from last season, and by young I mean like under 24 or whatever.
So most of the squad.
Yeah. has been quite disappointing for you this year and not really taking that next step up or just arrived and not done well?
Well, for me, it's got to be Kikuta Mane, and the reason that is because he has such a high ceiling, and he's shown at points that he could be a complete world beater. But his lack of consistency, especially when he's started games, has been really shocking. The first game that he's had played well when he started was against LA. But before that, he's only been a super sub, and they need him to become a consistent starter on this club.
Jay finishes his thing there before the 30 seconds is up. Fantastic. 6 points. That gives him 11 points at the moment. I mean, the thing about Manny is he is kind of like he bookended a run where he wasn't doing that well, the 2 LA games, with 2 great performances. And again, it's like, is Kikuta Mane a big-time player?
Yeah.
That's something for another day.
Zach, same question to you. Newcomer, young player who has not been up to the level you were hoping for this year.
I know that you appreciate them all.
I do appreciate them all. And the person I'm going to go with on this one is Christian Dean. I'm going to say Christian Dean because of where he was drafted. I'm going to also say Christian Dean because he was drafted last year and didn't quite make the breakthrough. Hardly got any time last year. And this year was hoping maybe he could get more or even produce more maybe in WFC2 or WFC2. And I think, again, he's one of the players that, as we've talked about other times, who benefits from a run in the team. And I think his morale was kind of crushed a little bit last year. And it hasn't been brought back this year. Like, he hasn't been fully rejuvenated this year, and he's been struggling because of that.
7 points for Zach, so he's still a little behind. First time that Zach's ever been described as being a little behind.
That's equal. It's 11-11.
No, he was 5-4 up after the first one.
Yeah. You said I got 7.
Yeah. Well, he got 7 as well, season 12.
No, he got 6.
No, he got 7.
We'll have
go
to
back and listen to it.
No, we'll go back afterwards.
Yeah, we'll have to
It's
listen
the
to
fixes
that.
in. What is he doing? Does he work for the FIFA?
I'm rehearsing here for my CONCACAF presidency bid.
The manila envelope is in your backpack here.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so Zach, first question. The third question, back to you.
Point behind.
Which home result has been disappointing? Doesn't have to be a loss, just home result has been disappointing for you this year.
It's hard to get beyond Seattle home, losing 2-0 to our Cascadian rivals, losing top spot in the Cascadia Cup standing, being scored on the 4th minute by Chad Barrett. That's another bing. Twice Chad Barrett scoring on us.
Only one bing.
I think it was hugely disappointing. It was also disappointing how we could not rally in the second half and turn the game around, whether you want to blame it on tactics or whatever that we talked about before. But that was heartbreaking for supporters.
And another 7 there for Zach. So by my maths, 11 plus 7 gives Zach a score of 15.
We call it Zach math on AFTN.
Jay.
So Jay, if you get 7 or more, you have won this Mars bar.
The first half. It's only the first half.
So half of the Mars bar.
Half of the Mars bar.
Good, that's fair.
Think of it as a fun-sized mini Mars bar.
That's right.
That's what my wife likes to think of it as.
Not the Terry Dunfield size.
No.
Go. Home loss.
As much as the supporters will probably think that the Seattle game was, I'm going to say the Toronto game. The Seattle game was, we were playing probably the best team in the league. It's understandable to lose to a club like that. Toronto, it is not. It was the first game of their season. We were utterly dominating them and should have been up 4-0 at the half. And our lack of execution and then just completely giving up so many chances and not being able to adapt tactically was super disappointing for a home opener.
Oh, you actually won that.
So, 8 points there for Jay, which gives Jay a commanding 2-point victory. Or 1 point if I listen to this again and I've got something wrong. Zach's adamant that it's only 1, but so we'll see. So anyway, we're going to have the second part of this in the second part of our Roundtable
So Zach
podcast.
has a chance to win in that second part.
I totally blocked out that first kick match from this year. Yeah. And how disappointing.
My personal on that one, I think it was the Edmonton 1-1 draw at home. Only because you had the Seattle game coming up, you lost that obviously, but then you had to play your starters against Edmonton on the road and then go to Colorado where they were tired, and then you were lost that game. So I think that Edmonton 1-1 draw, when you had so many young players expecting them to do something and they didn't do it.
I do agree with Jay. The Toronto thing was disappointing for me just because I like to see Toronto get beat, and you kind of wanted to make all their fans panic right away after all their big money signings. But the amount of chances that were created, when you don't bury that, to me that has to be the big disappointment.
You missed the point of that when you could have said we hadn't lost the home opener in 12 years or whatever.
I'll give you a point for that. You were thinking that. So anyway, that's the halftime score, and it is 26 to G, 15 to Zach. We'll have more of that in our next episode. That was 30 Seconds to Mars.
I need a Mars bar, hey Rage bar, to help me through the day. I need a Mars bar, potato bar. It helps me, makes me rugged and play. 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 Work, rest, and play.
So just before we wrap up this podcast, there's another big event football-wise that's taking place in Vancouver and all of Canada just now. It's the FIFA Women's World Cup.
Everywhere but Toronto.
Yes.
It's everywhere that matters.
Even Moncton's got in on the act. I didn't even know that was a place.
The Magnetic Hill.
But just before we wrap up, just what's your thoughts? We've had all the first round of group games now. They wrapped up on today, Tuesday. There's been a couple of blowouts. Zach, your Germany team steamrollered. It was like the Second World War. The Panzer tanks were moving. They steamrollered over those poor Ivorian coast girls. But there's been some really good games as well. BC Place hosted 2 on Monday. 6-0 win for Cameroon over Ecuador, which surprised me because I didn't know what to expect from either team. And then a really good game between Japan and Switzerland. Swiss really, really unlucky in that one. But just quickly before we go, what's been your overall thoughts on the tournament so far? And do you feel it's actually been promoted enough in Canada? Because to me, I don't think people in Vancouver even know it's on. Like your average person.
I personally think that other than TSN, nobody's promoting it because are they allowed to promote it? That's the big question. I've seen it on news broadcasts.
The media guidelines are, and this is where it gets a bit tricky. The media guidelines, and this includes ourselves as a podcast, TV, radio, podcasts, if they're not rights holders, so basically Bell Media.
Who's the official podcast radio?
I guess the TSN podcast.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're not allowed to show any video or play any audio from inside the training or official training sessions.
Wait, this video from the Women's World Cup we're watching right now on the podcast, is it legal?
It is because it's for your private consumption. So it's difficult then for other stations to actually show anything and kind of help promote it, which does really make it difficult. I mean, what's your general feelings on the World Cup so far, and just the buy-in from Canada and the promotion it's been getting?
Yeah, it does feel a little underwhelming. Granted, I live way out in the Langley Massive, which for you is another country. It's another country, Michael, I know. So, but when I went into the city for the game, the games here yesterday, like there's some presence of it. On the Georgia Viaduct, you can see the stuff on the stadium, and the Christine Sinclair and buy your tickets and whatever. So I think if you're in the city, it's maybe a little bit more evident. But I mean, if you don't watch TSN, or you don't follow TSN on social media,
essentially you won't hear anything about it.
I saw a big post with Erin McLeod and something about grand butt, and I thought that was a bit unfair because she's quite a petite girl.
Jay, do you think that it's because Canada is spread out, and that's why maybe it's because if you look back at the Olympics 2010, It was in Vancouver, so that it was
and Whistler.
all over
Don't
the place.
forget
And
Whistler.
But maybe the World Cup is too spread out over a large country.
And
maybe
they wanted to promote the whole coast-to-coast aspect of it. They said that at the opening press conference, that they wanted to promote it's the first coast-to-coast World Cup, giant coast-to-coast.
Yeah, that very well could be a big part of it. I also think that we have to kind of get our expectations in check. It's not as big of an event as the Olympics or the Men's World Cup. It is
the Pan Am Games if you're from Toronto.
Well, all I'm saying is that I've seen media. I've seen the See the Rise stuff that was on. Is that what it was called? The See the Rise stuff on TSN. I've seen some of the media stuff. But I'm the target audience as well. I'm a consumer. But I don't know what everybody else expects. That buzz needs to come from the people. The buzz needs to come from the cities. And I'm sorry. If I'm not excited about going to see Cameroon and Ecuador, I can't see why a complete neutral would be. So I think that'll change as we get along, and if Canada wins the group and ends up here for the round of 16, the quarterfinals, then I think we'll start to see a bit more of a buzz and some chatter about it. I'm happy with what we've seen so far, both on the field and off the field. I know some people complain about the attendance. I thought it's been pretty good generally.
And it's games that's kicking off midweek in an afternoon. It's like, what are you expecting?
Exactly.
Folk are not going to take time off work for these early games.
The Whitecaps on a Wednesday if they're lucky, they get like 15, 16. And the World Cup sold 24,000 seats or something.
There was a game in Moncton today at like 12:30.
Yeah.
That was for TV. Essentially, they're selling TV.
But what are you supposed to expect then?
It was for European TV because it was like France and England. But the other thing as well, when you looked at the crowd in there, and from reading on Twitter, apparently it was a whole organisational nightmare. Yeah. And folk had to park away from the stadium and bus in, and they only put on 4 buses for a crowd of 13,000. So folk arrived late, pissing down with rain as well. I mean, obviously folk would have known that was going to happen. An open-air stadium. The thing in Vancouver as well is I think we haven't got the most glamorous group really when you look at it. I mean, Ecuador and Cameroon,
Japan
I didn't expect much.
We have the holders. We have the holders, man.
You have holders if you follow women's soccer and you know who the holders are.
They're very underwhelming.
They're the holders.
Yeah, but how many people know that they are the holders?
Well, they already played here once. People should know that.
No, but they're very underwhelming. They're under the radar. Barely anybody even talks about Japan when coming into the tournament, which is weird because everybody would talk about the reigning champions, but nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about Germany. They talk about USA, obviously. People talking about Canada, France. England gets more pub than them. So not many people talk about Japan. So
well, I mean, the press buy-in as well.
So when you talk about one of the important things about football and a tournament like this is supporters. And so, when you lack supporters in these cities, it's difficult. And obviously, this is a big international thing, so it's how many people do you have from that community in the city, how many people are actually going to travel, all that kind of stuff. There was a bunch of Ecuadorians out, there was a few Cameroonians out yesterday, there was more Swiss people than I've ever seen before in Vancouver, which I don't know if they were traveling or they're from here.
Oh, they just giving outfits.
But there was Japanese supporters there yesterday, and it doesn't help when you have a tournament like this, and then you allow people into the stadium with things to support, and then during the game come and take them away. So Japan had a flagpole taken away, and then they had their drum, which they got into the stadium no problem, then taken away, and they could not use their drum. So these kind of things, and these are FIFA regulations, it's not just BC Place or just the security or whatever.
But vuvuzelas are okay.
Yeah, apparently there was one. Well, there was a trumpet behind me from an Ecuadorian, which is awesome. But those things don't help these kind of things, right, Michael? Because I don't know if you.
I agree with that.
It was great. All of a sudden, when Japan, their fans there, they have the Japanese people of the blue bags and stuff.
They had some really great noise last night.
They had some great 2-stick. There was a couple people with 2-stick. It was awesome. And then they snuck into 252 to 254 where the south side usually is. Because the players came out that way.
Yes, I saw them in there.
And then they got kicked out because those weren't their seats. And they tried to squeeze in. So they came up to the very top, where there was no one, where they could always be together. They were kind of a driving force. And then all of a sudden, the flag got taken away. The drum, they couldn't use the drum in the second half. They had a tambourine, but it wasn't the same. It was just really, those kinds of things are disappointing.
And the thing about the Swiss supporters as well, there was a lot of them out. They were not as loud, but I mean they were there in time like clockwork almost.
They were very neutral as well.
Yeah. There's been some teams that I've been really impressed by, some games that I didn't think I was going to enjoy that I have enjoyed watching, so let's just hope it keeps up. Hopefully we get Canada here for the second round. I don't think we will. I think Holland's going to win that group, and I think we won't have Canada here playing at all, which is maybe going to take a bit of a hit on some of the attendances. But we'll be having more Women's World Cup stuff on AFTN, so watch out for that. But before we wrap up this episode of the podcast, just let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me online at JAY_Duke on Twitter and writing for AFTN.
My name is Zachary Meisenheimer. You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM, and I'm part of a movement called Curva Collective.
And you can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat. You can also, as we told this at the beginning, we've been recording this at Match Pub and Eatery. You can find them on Twitter at Match Pub New West.
And I'm Michael McCall. You can read all my stuff online, AFTN, aftn.ca. Also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com. Find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. And that's about it. So until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.